Coming up on today's Locked On Mavs, we're going to talk about how Klay Thompson is still good, Kyrie Irving returning from injury, and other bargain takes that I would gladly buy right now. On today's Locked On Mavs.
Stop it! Stop! The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave you.
Your team every day.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
You are locked on the Dallas Mavericks. This is one of your co-hosts, Isaac Harris, covering the Mavs for the last 10 seasons alongside my good friend Nick Ingstead. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app today, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And I'm riding solo today on this Friday. No draft today. Sorry to let you down. We've been doing fantasy drafts for our fantasy drafts Fridays and having some fun with that with Nick and Slightly and myself. And had Slightly on yesterday for Takeoff Thursday, throwing some hot takes out there. And Nick is taking a much needed little vacation, a little time away. So got some guests lined up and planning and stuff. So, but today, riding solo. And this is how I came up with today's topic. So I go to Target. I don't know if some of you guys out there are Target people or other establishments like Walmart, or I guess it just depends on what you're going for, right? But I was in Target recently, and when you first walk in Target, there's like these like bargain aisles. And it's like they have all these things for like $5 and under, and it never fails. There's something in there. I'm like, that's kind of cool. It's like $2 and I could use that for something. Sometimes I've never used it, but it's a pretty good deal. Or you could use the same analogy for like a clearance rack. And it's like, man, all right, let me hit up the clearance rack and see what's on sale. Let's see what a take that nobody wants right now, a piece of clothing that's like, man, it's just been on the rack for a while, and now they've had to mark it down because they need somebody to buy it. And this is what I'm thinking of today is, what are some takes around the Mavericks that are just kind of unpopular right now? Both from, I mean, it could be fan base wise or from the national media narrative or national fans around the NBA. What are some takes about the Dallas Mavericks that you could like buy low on right now, that they don't cost too much because no one really believes them? As it's a smaller group that believes in the take or the idea or the opinion about something. So you're in the minority on it. And I landed on 3 of them today that I want to talk about. 3 takes that are you're probably in the minority on, but I'll buy them right now anyway. And the first one I want to do is I want to buy that Klay Thompson is still good. For some reason, it feels like there was a narrative created about Klay post injury. So he had all of his main injuries there. I mean, the catastrophic injuries for a couple seasons there, that it felt like, I mean, every time he got back up or was getting back up, he got hit again. Whether you want to talk about ACL, you want to talk about Achilles, whatever injury you want to talk about, but it was like post Klay, people are already kind of like predetermining, dude, Klay he's never going to be the same because of the injuries and blah, blah, blah. And you get it. Like, is he the exact same Klay that he was pre-injury? No, he's not the exact same Klay. He's also into his 30s. He's also a little bit older. Shocking. Players are a little bit different players whenever they're in their 30s compared to when they're in their 20s. But the narrative or the thought that Klay is just washed, I think is just blatantly false. You look at Klay and what he brings to the table now. I think one of the main things is I'm saying that Klay Thompson is still good at basketball. He's still really good at basketball. I'm not saying that he is insanely like one of the best players in the league like he was before. Klay Thompson was one of the best two-way guys in the entire NBA pre-injury that we were watching in some of these finals and playoff moments to where, you know, he was defending opposing point guards and coming down and draining a 3 in your face. They were running offense and stuff through him when Steph was taking a break and, pre-KD and all this stuff. I'm not saying he's that Klay, but that was like insanely good Klay. I think he's like really good Klay. And I think for a lot of people, the extreme, it went from, well, Klay's not this, so therefore he's washed. And it's like, no, I think there's something in between. And I think that's where Klay is good. One of the biggest things in the game of basketball is the necessity for shooting. Everybody wants shooting. Everybody loves shooting on their team. Heck, we saw, Duncan Robinson is still getting paid. You could still get, big contracts around the league for being an incredible shooter. You look at players coming out into the draft. There's still guys that are getting drafted in the first round. You're like, because every team needs shooting. Klay Thompson is one of the best shooters in the entire NBA. He shot 39% last year from three on 7 threes a game. And it's like, you just start looking at some of that stuff and you're like, all right, who are some other players around the league that if you want to sit there and break it down, and it's like, well, how many threes did these people hit? And how many people shot over 39% last year with 7 3-point attempts a game? There are 11 players. And these are the players: Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Edwards, Darius Garland, Steph Curry, Norman Powell, Cam Johnson, Zach LaVine, Malik Beasley, Kyrie Irving, Dante DiVincenzo, and Klay Thompson. I would go on a limb and say most people out there would say all of these players are pretty good. Malik Beasley, I wouldn't bet on that one, but the other ones, it's like Zach LaVine's still getting paid a lot of money to be a good shooter. Cam Johnson, people are raving about the Denver edition for that. I just think that Klay Thompson brings you an elite skill that every team is looking for in 3-point shooting. You also look at his durability. This is one of those things too, post injury. We've talked about this multiple times. Post those injuries, he's came back. He's played in 3 seasons post injuries, 2 in Golden State, 1 in Dallas. He played in 69 games, 77 games, and 72 games. Guys, last year, only 2 players on the Mavericks played over 70 games. That was Spencer Dinwiddie at 77 games and Klay Thompson at 72 games. He's one of the most durable players on the Mavericks. He's probably the best shooter on the Mavericks, a skill that you have to have in today's game that can play with anybody on the floor. And when you look at him playing alongside other stars, the other guys on the team last year, you look at his time with Kyrie last year, they're in their minutes together, him and Kyrie Irving, +3 with a 118 offensive rating. You look at his time with Luka Doncic, +10 net rating and a 123 offensive rating. Klay Thompson's a winning basketball player. He's still a winning basketball player. And I'm all in the camp that I think Klay Thompson's going to start this season really well. I feel like some people out there still feel that Klay Thompson is washed, and they go back to some of that Golden State. It was getting kind of weird there towards the end. They knew the contract thing was coming up. They benched him for pods at times. They kind of essentially chose pods over him, Podziemski. And it's just like, just because that happened, just because the injuries happened, just because he's older, and just because he's not the same insane Klay that he was years ago, does not mean that Klay Thompson's still not a really good basketball player. He's still a really good basketball player. Let's take a quick break and then let's talk about D'Angelo Russell. This podcast is brought to you by our good friends over at GameTime. Guys, have you ever decided last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day. You suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where GameTime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. Cowboys games, they're coming up and they might be cheap. No, I'm just kidding. Cowboys games are never cheap. Neither is the parking. Neither is the parking for a Cowboys game. But hit up GameTime to find your some Cowboys home tickets. If you live here in Dallas, with the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or parking. That in there. Even invite a bigger group to come with you. GameTime makes it possible. Literally, GameTime makes it so. I have the app on my phone. I was just looking up some Jonas Brothers tickets because I kind of want to surprise my wife, but we're also saving for a trip and a baby right now. She really likes the Jonas Brothers. Anyway, so GameTime might have to come through here. Prices on the app actually drop closer to when you get to the first pitch. They've got incredible last minute deals. I might have to hit that up. And lowest price guarantee to take the worries out of buying. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app today. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONBA for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, everyone. Riding solo today. Doing the whole thing without Nick. I miss Nick. I miss Slightly. Shout out to Slightly, just been streaming away on Elden Ring there. I just texted him a little bit ago. I'm like, did you stream that game today for 6 hours? He's like, yeah, I did. LOL. This is where I want to plug the survey. Guys, we're doing a fan survey right now, Mavs fan survey, where we have 20, 25 questions, somewhere through there, just about the current state of the Mavs. And we want as many Mavs fans as possible to fill this thing out. It's super quick. It only takes a few minutes. WFAA TV station, they're getting involved with it too, and sharing it. They're going to talk about the results and stuff, and we'll talk about the results on the show and all of that stuff. So it's in the description here in the podcast on YouTube or in audio. You could go to our social medias and find it on there and stuff too. So if you're a Mavs fan, if you know a Mavs fan, make sure you fill this thing out. We want to capture a good voice of the fan base. I want to talk about D'Angelo Russell. If you've been listening to this podcast ever since they signed D'Lo, I've been kind of in the camp of pro this move. I'm historically, D'Angelo Russell's not the type of player that I would say that I fall in love with playing basketball back over the years. But I think for what Dallas is looking for with Kyrie Irving missing time, recovering from the torn ACL and all the stuff, I think for him at this like $5 million mark, I think it's a big win for Dallas, and I'm all into Cam, and I get it. I think the overwhelming thought for a lot of non-Mavs people, let's say national people, is like, what is Dallas doing? Like they're really going to try to replace Kyrie Irving with D'Angelo Russell, D'Lo, like he's going to do this or do that, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think you could have done a lot worse. Like we're talking about a guy who is. Been in the league for a while. He's been an all-star at one point, getting votes for Sixth Man of the Year. He had some really good seasons. He had a good season in Brooklyn. You look at season in Minnesota. You look at this last 2023 season. Last year was a weird year for him, getting traded, going to Brooklyn, all the stuff. But you look at that last full Lakers year, really good season for him. It ended weird with the playoffs in Denver and stuff, and just he kind of collapsed there in the playoffs. But they don't make it to the playoffs without D'Angelo Russell. They don't make it without that clutch shot he hits in a playing game over in New Orleans. So the take I'm buying about that I think is on the bargain rack right now, that's on the clearance rack, is D'Angelo Russell is a good playmaker. I think for a lot of people, they think about D'Lo and they're like, dude, he's just a chucker. He's just going to hold the ball and try to do these little dribble moves. And then that's all we're going to get. And and the ball's going to stop with him and all this stuff. And I just don't think that that's the case. I think that perception is wrong. I don't believe that. We've seen him play in systems and with teams and rosters with a lot of mouths to feed, and he's fed them. Like you go back to that Minnesota, you go back to his time in Minnesota. I mean, he's playing with Anthony Edwards. He's playing with Karl Anthony Towns. Those are the two main people that's going to score a lot of points there in Minnesota. But you got a young Jaden McDaniels. You had Naz Reid. You had other people on this team that he's playing point guard for, and he still averaged 18 points a game. But you look at, I mean, he averaged 7 assists per game. D'Angelo Russell averaged 7 assists a game. You look at some of his assist numbers, and I get it. Assist numbers, or assists per game, it doesn't tell the full story of your playmaking and assist numbers and all that. But 7 assists a game is anything to like look the other way about. You look at his time when he played with the Lakers in 2023. Like I said, I mean, he was a big reason why that Lakers team ends up getting to the playoffs. He was a starter on that team. He averaged 6 assists a game. He's playing with LeBron. He's playing with Anthony Davis. We've talked about this connection that he had with Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis being pro, then bringing D'Lo on, and how he can run the pick and roll and stuff. I've said multiple times that I think D'Angelo Russell's passing is going to surprise a lot of casual Mavs fans, because I think when you think about D'Angelo Russell, you think about maybe the ice in the veins. You think about the clutch shot. He's had different clutch shots and buzzer beaters. You think, if you want to go all the way back to the summer league, where when he first came in the league, I remember that buzzer beater and stuff. He has some clutch shots and stuff in him, but he is an incredible passer. He's going to pull off some passes that I think is going to surprise a lot of people, especially some in transition. But he'll get other people involved too. And that's the thing that I think the perception is a little wrong about. And he's 29. Like, he's 29 years old. He's in a contract year. If there's ever a time that I think he wants to excel in this playmaking point guard role, it's this year in Dallas. It's like he wants to show the league, like, I'm not some like just black hole on offense that's just like, I'm going to dribble around and look slow-mo and just kind of just throw it up left and right. That's not. And I think even when you look at the Lakers tenure and you talk to, different Lakers fans, you sometimes get two different opinions about him. It's like, dude, like, he was a lot of fun that year, 2023 year with AD and LeBron and regular season and all this stuff. But man, the last memory we have of him, before, that half of that year afterwards was that Denver series. And he was kind of a no-show and played really bad and all that stuff. So that's some of y'all's favorite saying that y'all love to point out that I say, oh my gosh, what is going on, man? I'm getting something on my phone. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Now what I was going to say. Now just like malfunctioned as a robot. I think another thing too that hurts his perception with some fans is they talk about, I think people have heard about him being in rumors so much and heard about him being on the trading block and stuff, whether it's for the Lakers or Brooklyn, whoever it was. And I think a lot of that has to do with the contract, because was D'Angelo Russell worth over $20 million a year, $28 million a year, whatever that number was at? Was he worth that type of money? I would say probably not for what he was bringing at the time. But so then in return, it turned into, well, he's just a contract that's going to be used. This is a tradable. He's a big expiring contract. So the Lakers got to keep him, and he's movable. They want to use the contract to get something better. So that like turns the perception about him to kind of like a negative type of thing, to where honestly, yeah, at that price, I get it, but you're getting D'Angelo Russell for $5 million. And I just think some of us have like overthought it a little bit with the talent and for the price tag, and kind of just gotten in our heads a little bit of like, man, like he's worth $5 million. On top of that, I mentioned earlier, I was like, hey, he averaged 7 assists a game. Some people might be listening to that and saying, well, it's not 10 like Luka. And it's like, okay, cool. But for 7 assists a game, I was like, man, I'm kind of just curious, like how many people last year in the league averaged at least 7 assists a game? How many people would you say did that last year? 15 people. Only 15 players last year in the NBA averaged 7 assists a game. Now, did D'Lo do that last year? No, he didn't. But I'm saying he's done that a couple times in his career, so he has that in his bag. These are the names of people who averaged at least 7 assists a game last year: Trae Young, Jokic, Halliburton, Cade Cunningham, Harden, LeBron, Luka, Chris Paul, LaMelo, DeJounte Murray, Jalen Brunson, Ja Morant, Giddey, Lillard, Booker. These are, shocking here, some really good names on this list. Some really good playmakers on this list. Some really good point guards on this list. Do I think D'Angelo Russell is going to be an all-star next year? No, I do not. Do I think he's going to be Kyrie Irving next year? No, I do not. But do I think we're going to get an efficient, good playmaking season from D'Angelo Russell? Yes, I do. I believe that. I think that's the D-Lo we're getting. Let's take one more quick break, and then I want to talk about Kyrie Irving.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Oh, play the music. Let's go. Getting going here. I still haven't uploaded my sound bites to the soundboard. I got to do that while Nick's gone. So then the first pod back and we're together, I can just like drop some fun sound beats. Wow. It's time to go watch TV or something. Love is Blind UK back. Let's go. Wife and I are watching that. Trying to figure out who we like in that show. But Love is Blind is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Kyrie Irving. So this is kind of funny because a little insight into our Locked On Mavs host like group chat here. Every now and then, we'll talk about different things in the host chat. And one of the things that was brought up recently was about this top 100 thing we're doing as a network. A lot of fun. A lot of us had a lot of fun with it, did a lot of research. I probably put too much work into this. But it's fun. We each submitted our own top 100 players in the league. Those results are going to come out here in a couple weeks, and we'll compare across the network and all the stuff. But one of the big debates we had was like, well, what do we do with the injured players? What do we do with, Tatum? What do we do with Damian Lillard? What do we do with Kyrie Irving and all of that? And my whole thing was like, well, okay, well, if somebody's not going to play this year, then I'm just not going to like rank them. Like, I'm not going to rank a Halliburton in my top 100. But either way, we're like, hey, we got to find a consistent thing and all this stuff. And Kyrie Irving, for a lot of people, was just like lumped into that of like, hey, he's probably not going to play this year. And I just don't know like where that's coming from. I get it. If the only thing that opinion is based off of is off a clip from a Twitch stream, then I don't know how much I can like push back on that. I really think Kyrie Irving's going to be playing this year. So my last take on this, or the buy low bargain take that I'm like, hey, I'll scoop that up. I'll buy two or three of those. I think Kyrie Irving's going to come back just fine this year. Kyrie tore his ACL on March 3rd. When you look back at history, or even in recent history of torn ACLs, even for like guards and stuff, you look at, you're looking at like a 10 to 12 month thing. Sometimes it's a little longer. You look at like Jamal Murray, it's like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. This is pre-title for them. He ended up staying out a little bit longer, and then he was pretty good, and they ended up winning a title that next following season. Now, it was the following season. It wasn't right after him coming back from the ACL and stuff, so I get that. I'm not trying to compare that, but Kyrie tears his ACL on March 3rd. That would put 10 months at January. That would put 12 months at March. I just think we're going to see him through there. This is the time frame. And you're like, hey, Isaac, do you know anybody that came back at 10 months? Yes, I do. Thank you for asking. Spencer Dinwiddie. You go back to Dinwiddie. He tore his ACL in December. I think it was 2020. He comes back. He's ready for opening night in October of that following season. So it's a 10-month kind of turnaround there for Dinwiddie. And he had 34 points in his second game of the season that year. So now I get it. All recoveries are different. Also get that Dinwiddie was, I think, 28 at the time of that. A little bit younger than Kyrie. I get that too. One of the things about that, so I think you also got to look at, for this take and to buy this off the bargain rack here, you got to look at what makes Kyrie good. Because that's my thing. I think he's going to come back just fine. Do I think he's going to be 100% the exact same Kyrie from March to, until they get put out of the playoffs? If they do. Do I think he's going to be the exact same Kyrie? No, I don't. But do I think he's going to come back and be fine and still be good? Yes. What makes Kyrie good? Well, one of the things that makes Kyrie really good is his shooting. And that's the thing that I'm not scared about when it comes to him coming back from his ACL thing. And I get it. I know some of you are going to be like, oh, there's so much lower body stuff with shooting. That's the whole base of shooting. I get it. I'm with you. There's so many things. I look at lower body, the footwork and frame and position of the lower body of shooters coming into the draft. It's one of my top things I look at is like, hey, how are you setting your feet? It used to kill me with Josh Green because it was so inconsistent with his feet and stuff early on with his shot. Now it affects everything. Watch some stuff of Ray Allen talking about your lower body and stuff. But with Kyrie, 40% on threes last year. He's a great spot up shooter. He's a 92% free throw shooter. If all the other stuff is taking a lot more time on the floor, the one thing I'm confident in is Kyrie as a shooter. And another thing that they need on the floor with a Cooper Flagg, with an Anthony Davis, with a Dereck Lively is another shooter. So if Kyrie isn't 100% the same Kyrie, then I get it. but can he be a really good shooter on the floor and still play a point guard role and distribute and stuff, and maybe not have the same pop to get into the paint or the same exact athleticism or the same exact hang time for all the crazy, shots we see him pull off, or as he's a wizard in the paint and all this stuff. We might not see that version of Kyrie, but you're going to still see a good shooter. And also, I just want to throw out there, it's the IQ stuff too that makes Kyrie such a good player. Like, Kyrie is one of the smartest players I've ever seen play the game of basketball. Some of the stuff he tries on the floor is insane. Some of the stuff he pulls off on the floor is insane. With both hands, left hand, right hand. Some of the times I get frustrated. I'm like, dude, you're not left-handed. Can you just shoot it right-handed? Then he hits a shot left-handed. I'm like, what? I'm like talking to myself. I'm like, dude, Isaac, you're so stupid. Like, stop yelling at Kyrie inside your head. But I think he's one of the smartest basketball players. So it's like, oh, okay, so you can give me an 80% Kyrie on the floor, who's an incredible shooter, one of the best shooters on the floor, probably the best free throw shooter on the floor, and he's maybe the smartest player on the floor. That's a really good basketball player. I want him on the floor, and I think that's a Kyrie we're going to get. Not to drop a whole Nico Harrison and Kobe thing. He idolized Kobe, and just the work ethic and all the stuff. Like, everything I've ever heard about Kyrie is just an incredible work ethic and all the stuff. And there you go. There's your saying again. I'm just in the camp of, I think there's a lot of people, especially nationally out there, that covers the NBA, covers teams, that look at this season for the Mavs and they look at Kyrie Irving and they just write him off like he's Tatum or Halliburton or Damian Lillard. And it's like, dude, he's just out for the year because of the injury. And I just don't think the case. I think he's going to come back in that 10 to 12 month time frame. I think he's going to be a good basketball player. And I think he's going to be like, I think he's going to go back to being one of the top contributors on the team. So now, something that could change that. What if something drastic happens early in the season for Dallas and, something to AD or Cooper Flagg or something like that, and it's just like, all right, this is a lost season type of thing, then it's kind of like, well, why are you bringing Kyrie back anyway? But as long as the Mavs are on the path that I think a lot of us think that they can be on, and Cooper's good and AD is playing well and healthy and stuff, and they're right there fighting for a 4, 5, 6 seed somewhere through there, I think we're going to see Kyrie Irving come back. And I don't know. I'm confident in that. So those are the 3 takes. Those are the 3 bargain takes. And I'm buying right now that Kyrie Irving's coming back and he'll be just fine. That D'Angelo Russell is a good playmaker and Klay Thompson is still good. Klay is not washed. So those are 3 takes. I think they're in the minority. I think they're on clearance. It's a bargain deal right now, and I'm scooping them all up. So send me where those deals are at, and I'm buying all of those right now. Guys, that's another week of Locked On Mavs. Obviously, we'll take off on Saturday and Sunday, and we'll be back on Monday. Have some guests and stuff coming next week. And then, of course, Slightly will be back on, and then we're just another step closer to Media Day and the NBA season. Share the survey. Take the Mavs survey if you haven't already. And, have a good weekend. Be safe.